people want to always give you their opinion, even if you didn't request it. Sometimes people here, they are just unwilling to bend. Some people should not be let in. As a matter of fact, a lot of people should not be let in. Boom! Boom! Cześć ludzie! What's up, people? Hola, JT here. Welcome to another episode. You know, guys, I consider myself a very happy guy. Despite maybe what you can think after reading this title. Oh, you see, JT eventually is going to admit it. Poland is not his cup of tea. Maybe he doesn't feel as good here. He's not as happy. Maybe he wants to go back to his country, to the sun and the beach. No, that's not the case at all. I am very happy here. It was the best decision that we could have ever made, was to move here. Now, that still doesn't mean that there are some things here that, especially as time passes and I live here longer and I interact with more and more and more people, not just family and friends, but strangers, and develop more of a social life, I can say that I feel slightly disappointed on some of those things. And today I'm going to tell you which ones they are. The first thing, the language. I've been learning Polish for a year and a half now. I knew a little bit of Polish before. I don't seem to be bothered by, people speaking to me in Polish, nor I am bothered by speaking to people in Polish. I don't feel shame. I don't feel shyness, even. But in reality, as expected, if you're going to come to Poland, you have to expect that Polish is a language that will be paramount for your overall survival here. Yes, you can choose to be one of those foreigners that will speak English and beg for anyone to speak to you in English, but it's not gonna get you far. And it's not gonna help you integrate either. So if I am so willing to speak Polish and learn it as I am, why am I disappointed in it? Well, I am disappointed in the fact that the language is very difficult, but that will be very subjective. If you come from a Slavic country where the language is similar to Polish, then of course you're going to learn Polish relatively fast. But undeniably the language is hard, and more than hard, the language has this characteristic where it doesn't really matter if you are learning vocabulary. It doesn't even matter if you're learning grammar. The first levels of Polish, you're still kind of like driving blindly. And that's kind of how it feels when you are at these beginner levels where I'm at. Right now I'm A2. I still have a bunch of holes from A1, but for the most part, I think it's fair to say that I'm A2 level. Oftentimes I am, scrolling on the internet and I see there's someone speaking Polish and I stop to try to see if I can understand. And don't get me wrong, I can understand way more than I could a year ago, let alone 2 years ago. But oftentimes I am left either not understanding anything or simply understanding most of the words but still not being able to get the meaning behind the sentence or the message. Yeah, sometimes I do get the whole message, which is amazing, makes me feel really good. But that is a real thing, and it's disappointing. Not disappointing on the language per se, because the language is just a language, that's it. But disappointing on the journey that you have to take learning the language. For a person like me, that is a content creator, it's hard because I want to communicate with more people. My plan is not to make content in English forever. I will always make content in English because, the internationality of it, I already built an audience based on English speaking, but I would like to also include Polish so that I can reach more people that maybe understand a little bit of English, but not enough. And when they see my content in English, it's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna just scroll because I don't understand fully. And after a year and a half learning this language twice a week and being immersed in the Polish reality, you would have thought that maybe I could already be kinda there. With what I know, I think I could make some content, but I don't want to just make some content, you know, I want to deliver my message properly. So that is a little disappointing, maybe on myself in regards to the language more than the language itself. But the second thing, this know-it-all attitude that exists here among a lot of people. Like I said, I've met many that are straightforward people, open, they don't shove their opinion down your throat. But it seems to be more often than not that people want to, I don't know if it's to show off. I don't really think it's show off. I just think it's like this part of the culture where people want to always give you their opinion, even if you didn't request it. Again, this might be more of a particular thing, like specific to me, because I'm a content creator and I'm putting my opinions out there in public, so people might feel, hey, you kind of ask for it. You kind of ask for people to tell you what they think. But it is truly annoying how many people want to give you their version of things. And let me tell you, this gets even more amplified when they feel that you're wrong or they think that you're wrong. Oh my God, they're gonna come and they're gonna, write to you or tell you a whole essay, why you're wrong and how they, you can do it better. It's somewhat disappointing because it's almost predictable. You can grab a watch and go, okay, 3, 2, 1. Here come a bunch of people telling you the mistake that you made and what is the best version. And if you get into an argument with somebody, forget about it. You might as well just decide to drop it, agree to disagree. Posts love to argue. And I think that part of this love for arguing is, number one, that they are fairly knowledgeable people. They know a lot, really honestly, about things. They remember stuff from their school or just the world. Educated people. Because they're educated, then they want to prove to you that they know better. So arguments never end. The Polish internet is plastered with arguments that never end. Sometimes in the comment sections of my videos on YouTube, you can see how one person is telling the other. First, it starts with someone telling me off, then the other person comes and tells them off, and then so on and so on and so forth, and it becomes a drag. Another thing that is disappointing and somewhat related to the one that I just talked about is this stubbornness. And listen, we understand, we all know that stubbornness is a characteristic that has served Poles really well in the past. Probably one of the characteristics that played the biggest role in Poles maintaining their culture, their customs throughout history and all the things that happened to them. But in the year 2025, where we have, first of all, we have the internet, which as much as people like to knock on it, you can find so much information to maybe change your mind or disprove a point. And sometimes people here, they are just unwilling to bend, to change their mind. They are unwilling to have their points proven wrongly. It's like it just becomes a wall or like a, what is this? Cement block. And you feel like you cannot penetrate. You cannot penetrate when people are in that mode. I would like to penetrate that wall because I think that's how you grow. That's how you build stronger relationships. When you are able to maybe admit, okay, hey, maybe I don't know everything. Or what I thought I knew, what I thought was accurate is maybe not so much so. That is disappointing. You just have to be willing to let it go, and maybe just understand that some topics cannot be touched, cannot be discussed, because you are not going to reach a middle ground. The next one is going to be controversial, I know, I already know. And that is the growing movement against foreigners coming to Poland. Some people are going to blame me of being an ultra-leftist that wants to open all the borders and turn Poland into the next France or Sweden or something. But you know, even though it's none of your business what I believe, I'm going to go on the record and say I'm not an ultra-leftist. I do believe the borders should be protected. I do believe that not every foreigner should be let in. I do believe that some foreigners should not be welcome. And that's a lot to say, given the fact that I am a foreigner myself. But still, in reality, some people are just not willing to play by the rules. They're not really willing to integrate. Some cultures, even like whole cultures, have a harder time adapting to new places because they are so, their beliefs are so strong that whenever they go places, they create little subcultures. So, you know, if you guys know what I'm saying, I agree. But having said that, there's a growing movement and like a sentiment that is negative about foreigners here. Not by everyone, but it's growing. And I have seen it in the last years making content. The last year specifically, the amount of people that write under my videos, people telling me, I stop promoting Poland. Stop, shut up, just live here and shut up. Because people are gonna find out how amazing it is here and they wanna come. And they're going to, you know, turn this into a landfill. Why don't we hold our leaders responsible better instead of prohibiting yourself from enjoying the country and sharing it with people? For example, I make content and a lot of my viewers are Polish. So technically I don't make this content for foreigners to come and see how great this is and that they should all come and enjoy this, that like I get to enjoy it. So under that description, then I make a lot of content for Poles to enjoy their own country and to see things through my eyes, through the eyes of a foreigner living here, you know, married to a Polish woman, Polish children, etc. But what I don't like is that this movement has turned quite negative. The line that divides just your desire to protect your culture and your customs and basically the mega ultra nationalist attitude that any foreigner or anyone that is not, let's say, Polish or something, it's not welcome. This could be a fine line. Again, I am not saying that Poland is a racist country, ultra-nationalist country. No, the national sentiment is strong here and it's getting stronger. And I support it, no problem, I support it. All I'm saying is that when a certain movement grows and acquires a darker-ish vibe, it is just a little disappointing because up until, let's say, the last year, or maybe, you know, a year ago, like I said, or even the last few months, I have felt very welcomed, and I still feel welcome. Nothing has happened to me particularly, but I feel as if the tides are slowly turning. I don't know what that could mean or imply. I have a particular gripe with this. This is particularly something that ticks me off. And that is when I have met somebody here, for example, I've seen them often. And every time I see them, it's like we have never met. Maybe an awkward hey, dzień dobry, which maybe if we had not met at all, there would be no dzień dobry. But this is weird to me. It happens to me sometimes in school with my son, people that I see on a regular basis. We have been seeing each other for years already at this point, a couple of years. And it's like we have never met, like this awkwardness. Sometimes they even enter, they don't even look at you. Sometimes they don't even say hello, kind of like borderline ignoring you. Maybe it's a personal thing, and I'm not talking about one person, I'm talking about different people. Sometimes people that are even close to you, or relatively close to you, they enter and it's like as if we woke up together in the same bed. There's no need to say hello, there's no need to say dzień dobry. It's like, forget about getting a hug or anything, because we know Poles are not really touchy-feely people, but now, and as much as I am touchy-feely, I'm okay with that. By the way, some people are touchy-feely here. Not too much, but some people are. Some people will give you a hug or talk to you and, hey man, whatever. And I'm like, nice, we're speaking the same language. But I am aware that, for example, as a Latino, I cannot and I don't measure Poles with the same stick that I would measure people from my culture, because it's completely different, totally different. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Again, like I said, I am happy in this country. I feel good. And I have many Polish friends or Polish acquaintances that I get along really well. And it's because I have adapted to that. I have adapted to understanding the way that Poles connect with people. But it still rubs me the wrong way when there are individuals that I see on a somewhat daily basis, and they are just as awkward as they were the first day they met you. It is disappointing. It is what it is. Because maybe you want to connect with people. Maybe you want to, hey, give me a little something. Work with me here. Maybe we don't need to be best friends. Granted, not everyone needs to like you, right? Not everyone needs to like me. But sometimes our kids are, they know each other or something. And no, if any dad or mom from my son's school or his group particular thing that I'm talking about them. No, I'm not talking about any of you, just in case. But there are people in the school though that do act like that. I sometimes find myself modifying a little bit of my behavior, maybe being a little bit less friendly, a little bit less open. Instead of opening with a nice smile and saying dzień dobry, hello, whatever, I sometimes just enter and don't say anything. Maybe should I allow that? Should I change for people? I don't know. But I do think that in this country, if someone doesn't give you a nice energy back, then why should you give it to them? Boom! That's all, guys. That's the end of this episode. I'm not even gonna ask if you liked it. I think it's fair, I think it's fair to express positive things, but also a little bit of negative. It purges out, those feelings that you have inside. As annoying as some of those things might be, they make no difference in my enjoyment of this country, this culture, and the people here. Poles have embraced me in particular is nothing short of amazing, and I am very grateful for that. And I do as much as I can to add back to the culture. So take it as it is. A little bit of narzekanie from my end. That's a good sign. Maybe it means that I might be integrating a little bit better than I thought. See you guys on another episode. For sure, a more positive episode. Bye-bye.